Welcome to today's webinar, Tips for Giving a Strong Job Interview, where we will receive advice about preparing for and giving a strong job interview from FedEx Services Talent Acquisition Advisor, Mary Ma, FedEx Services Talent Acquisition Specialist, Tessa, Zich, and FedEx Services Talent Acquisition Specialist, Camille Worthy. Mary Ma is a proud Memphis native and a University of Memphis alumni. Go Tigers! She recently submitted her application to pursue a master's degree in business administration with a project management concentration. She is excited about the opportunity to further her education while working her dream job at FedEx Services. As a FedEx Services Talent Acquisitions Advisor, Mary specializes in recruiting information technology professionals. Mary is a people person. She loves getting to know candidates and understanding their career aspirations to connect them with possibilities at FedEx Services. Outside of work, Mary enjoys spending time with her family and eating all of the Memphis's local favorites. Camille Worthy is a dedicated employee of FedEx Services. She has been with the company for 25 years. As a talent acquisition specialist, Camille works hard every day to recruit top talent for IT, which involves attending several recruiting events throughout the year. Camille is an active volunteer of Women in Leadership and FedEx Cares, where she frequently volunteers with the Girl Scouts Stand Beside Her annual event. Before joining HR, she was a senior employee solutions for the HR and Payroll Customer Support Contact Center. Camille holds a bachelor's degree in psychology from the University of Memphis and her MBA from Dowling College. In her spare time, Camille enjoys Zumba, watching the Food Network channel, cooking, and spending time with her husband, family, and friends. She especially enjoys traveling to see her daughter, who currently resides in California, working for Disney+. Tessa Fairchild Zich was born in Russellville, Arkansas in May of 1971. She moved to Memphis in 1992 to attend Memphis State to obtain her bachelor's degree in psychology. She met her husband at the Newman Foundation. They dated for 4 years and had the pleasure of watching Coach Penny Hardaway play some incredible basketball before being called up to the big leagues in the early 90s. Tessa graduated with a bachelor's degree. Her husband graduated with a master's degree in education. They have been married since 1997 and have 3 beautifully gifted daughters. Tessa worked at youth villages for a few years and later started working at FedEx as an admin, working her way up to her current role as a recruiter. After obtaining her MBA from Dowling College through the tuition reimbursement program at FedEx Services. Along with her husband and 3 incredible young daughters, Tessa has 2 dogs, 1 cat, and lives near Shelby Farms, where they love to play disc golf, hike the trails, walk their dogs, kayak, paddle boat, and picnic. More than anything, Tessa and her family like to cheer for their alma mater. Go Tigers, go!
Thank you, Willie, for that wonderful, wonderful introduction. I appreciate that. And we're going to get started. My name is Camille Worthy, as Willie had introduced, and I'm going to kick this off now. We're also doing this presentation. We also want you to be interactive with us. Use the chat feature or the question and answer feature, as we'll all be responding to those questions back and forth as needed. So please reach out if you have any questions during the presentation. Okay, so for today, we're going to discuss interview preparation, and talent acquisition is the team that myself, Tessa, and Mary are a part of at FedEx Services. So today, this is our agenda. These are the topics that we're going to cover today. We're going to discuss resume statistics, creating a professional resume, virtual interview tips, preparing for a behavioral interview, preparing during the behavior interview process, and helpful resources. At the very end, we'll have interactive question and answer feature if anyone has any questions they would like to ask us personally. So the first topic that I want to discuss is resume statistics. And this information is provided to us by SHRM, which is the Society of Human Resource Management. Human resources typically takes less than 5 minutes to decide if a candidate will move forward in the interview process. And this is typically correct. So basically the managers do determine who actually gets to interview, but human resource is where it starts. We have to screen the candidates, and based on how your resume actually appears, we can take a quick glance and know immediately if we're going to move your resume over to the manager for a possible interview. It is advisable to include up to 8 to 10 years of work experience on resumes. And also, when you're including this information on your resume, try your best to make sure the experience that you're listing on the resume pertains to the job that you're applying to. If you're trying to apply for a software developer and the only information on your resume is from when you were a nurse, that's a good profession, but that's not going to typically get you an interview for a software developer. You need to keep the information pertinent to the job if at all possible. 66% of those surveyed preferred a chronological resume that begins with the most recent work experience. And this is correct as well. The managers are able to quickly glance through the resumes when everything is in a chronological order. If it is not in an order like that, it is a chance that the manager will not take the time to read your resume. You need to make sure the resume is very easily readable to the hiring manager that's reviewing your information. 43% of managers preferred a bulleted format. And I can say I agree with this. When we're reviewing the information and resumes that the candidates present to us, the bulleted format looks cleaner. It looks cleaner and it's easier to read for myself or the hiring managers that I'm working with. 93% of managers said inaccuracies have a negative impact on decisions to interview and make offers. So make sure before you submit your resume, double check for spelling errors, double check to make sure you have your chronological order is intact. Make sure it's as clean as possible. Take the time to make sure you're reviewing your resume before you submit it. You'd be surprised how many times that we have requests after a job has closed and candidates reach out saying, I submitted the wrong resume. Can you change it and update the new one for us? And that is a task to do. And you don't want, after the job is already closed and hiring manager has your resume, you don't want the manager to have to remember you as a candidate that had the incorrect information submitted to them. They will remember you for that information. Let me go to the next slide. So right here, we're going to talk about creating a professional resume. Always include your name and contact information. Always include an adjective or professional summary at the top. It helps you stand out professionally on your resume. Make sure you highlight your skills, especially the skills that are pertinent to the position that you're applying for. That is crucial. You're looking for that dream job that you're looking for. Highlight those skills that are going to get you that interview. Your work history with dates and employment and job details. Make sure that the dates are crucial on your resume. So this helps the manager determine how up to date you are for the position that they are actually hiring for. Always include your education, certifications, and training. And today's society that we live in, education and training is key as well, but certifications play a good part of if you're going to be offered a interview, depending on the type of position that you're applying for. Professional references are optional. That is totally up to the candidate. In the FedEx world, we typically, we don't tell you not to include references, but it's not as high up the hierarchy as the other previous information on this deck is. Name, contact information, your skills, your work history, those are the crucial components on a resume. The professional references, that is really totally up to you, but that is not what it's going to take to actually land the interview. Emphasize the impact that you will make. Include information regarding accomplishments, achievements, awards, and results. That is key. Any type of award or accomplishment that you have received in your job or previous job that you have held, include all those achievements and accomplishments. Those are key, and those will make you stand out on your resume and in the interview process. Use powerful action-packed words. Begin sentences with words like developed, pioneered, grew, negotiated, or structured. Use words that describe what you actually did, not what the team did, but we need to know what you actually did. I love to use the word implemented on my resume. What are some things that you implemented in your role or your previous role? What are some things that you developed in your current role or your previous role? Those are the type of information that the manager is looking for. What did you do? Not what the team did, not what your manager did for you. What are some topics or ideas that you actually presented and you worked through with the team, or you led a team and got those ideas developed or implemented or structured into your current work environment? That is a very crucial part of landing that interview. Quality results whenever possible. Developed a strategic plan that generated $1 million in revenue within 1 year. So that goes into you discussing, okay, what you developed, what you implemented, but what was the outcome of that? What is the positive outcome that happened after you came up with these ideals or whatever that you presented or developed? Discuss in detail what happened from point A to point B. You developed a plan. Did it generate any money? Is it something that the company is still using today? Use that information in your favor. You're selling yourself. So whatever you're doing throughout the resume, you are selling yourself through the resume, and you're going to take all those points and sell yourself through the interview process as well. Virtual interview tips. Now on this slide, let me say, everyone, the climate that we are in due to COVID-19, virtual interview tips are a must right now. As we know, majority of the interviews right now are taking place virtually. Zoom, WebEx, it's all taking place virtually. So you want to make sure that your mood is set as professional as possible. So number one, test your technology. Things happen. I've been on Zoom meetings. My Wi-Fi has went out. Hiring managers understand that, but try to test your technology before you actually log on to start the interview process. It does help. You may find something before the interview that you can correct before the actual interview starts. So make sure you check your laptop, your phone, your app, whatever application you're using, whether it be Zoom or etc. Make sure you test it before the interview actually starts. Make sure your audio and video is showing as perfectly as you can and clear. You want the hiring manager to actually see you. Make sure you're well presentable, as if you would do the same that you would do if you were having a face-to-face interview. Make sure that you are presentable. Make sure your internet connectivity is correct. Location. And that goes back to what I was just saying. Make sure your environment that you are interviewing with is conducive to the interview. Make sure it's professional. Make sure that there are no distractions. I know a lot of people are home with their kids, and I understand that, but when you're having a virtual interview, you have to put situations in place to keep everything as smooth and clear as possible. Be prepared. Make sure you do your research beforehand. Whatever company that you're trying to get hired for, do research. Find out what's going on with the companies. See if they have any new projects that are going on that you can bring up at the end of your interview to let the hiring manager know that you've done your research and you are interested in the company. It does help and gives you a few extra points during the interview process. Don't read from the notes. We understand that during some of the process, you will take notes and read from the notes, but don't look at it as if you're looking at an actual book. Glance at it, but try your best to keep the information in your head. But it's fine to quickly look at your notes, but don't stare at your notes the entire interview process. Have eye-to-eye contact with the hiring managers that are interviewing you. Now understand that they won't all at the same time be looking at you the whole interview process, but we'll get into that later on down the slide. But make sure that you are remaining with that eye contact and speaking professionally throughout the process. Dress for success, and this is what I mentioned earlier. Make sure that what you would wear the same thing that you would wear to a in-person interview. Be presentable. Have the professional wardrobe ready for the interview. Monitor your body language, and that really means try not to do a lot of excessive movements or like doing this and doing that while the interview is going on. You don't want to do anything that's going to distract the hiring manager from focusing on you and what you're presenting to the table. Build rapport and make a connection. And that can be as simple as at the end of the interview, after you took some time to let the manager know some extra details about yourself. You may just make a simple comment, "Ooh, it's nice weather outside," and that may just lead to a simple offhand conversation with the manager. Build rapport, make a connection, let them know that you're interested. And number one, be yourself. Do not try to come in the interview pretending to be someone else. If you actually land the job, they're going to want to see you. They're not going to want to see an imitation of you. They're going to want to see what you're actually bringing to the table. How you sold yourself in the interview is how they're going to see you once you start in that job. So that's why it's important to be yourself. Don't try to be anyone else. Just maintain your professionalism and just exude how you are and just sell yourself. That's the number one thing that we're going to probably discuss throughout this deck, is make sure you're selling yourself as best as possible. And I know that was a lot of information, so I'm gonna pause right here and see if we have any questions before Mary takes over. I'll give it maybe a few seconds if anyone have any questions.
I was slouching when you were talking about how to prepare for an interview or how to behave during an interview. I was like, you don't want to do that. Sit up straight.
Correct. Thanks, Tessa. And it's easy to do when you're working from home. It's very easy to do, but you have to reel it in for that interview. You're trying to sell yourself and get the job.
That's right. Be comfortable, but not too comfortable.
That's a good one. Be comfortable, but yes, be comfortable, but not too comfortable. Not too relaxed. Relax yourself, but not too relaxed.
Not too relaxed.
Not too relaxed.
Exactly.
Not too relaxed. This is an interview. Thank you. Thank you both. And I don't see any questions, so Mary, you can proceed with the next portion of the slide.
Okay, thank you, Camille. That was some great information. So as far as the next portion of the slide, like Camille talked about earlier, you have your resume, your professional resume. She shares some tips and tricks about virtual interviews. So once you get an interview in person or virtually, we want to share with you some tips and tricks as far as interviews within a behavior style setting. So as FedEx, we have a behavior style interview philosophy, and that philosophy is past behavior is the best indicator of future performance. And we're going to share some tips and tricks throughout the slide as far as this interview process. I'm ready, Camille. Thank you. Yes, so Camille earlier shared with us to be yourself. Along with being yourself, you have to know yourself as well. So wanted to share with you as far as just some tips and tricks as far as to know yourself. The first one is to reflect on past interviews. think about some feedbacks that you were given in the past and use those feedback to remind yourself what you could have done to improve on those feedbacks, and just understanding those feedback may be able to help you in this new interview that you have. We believe that feedback helps with personal development. It could potentially help with creating different opportunities that you didn't think of. If they gave you some feedback, maybe you can ask about other opportunities there may be if this position happened to not be the right fit. So that thinking about that feedback and just reflecting on those past interviews could potentially help you with this interview. The other thing is think about your career goals and how it aligns with the position. Camille, I think you talked about, you used the software developer position earlier as an example. So I'll just use that one as an example to think. Can we go back to the last slide, please? Okay, so yes, reflect on your career goals and how it aligns with the position. Camille used the software developer job title earlier, so I'll just use that one as an example. So if you happen to be an entry-level software developer and you know that your career goals are to advance within this industry, you can think about those goals and reflect it in your interview. Tell the hiring managers that you want to continue to grow within this job field. So being able to align your career goals to the particular position can help, because it will also help you sell yourself and be able to communicate to the hiring manager of future career goals that you have. The other tip we want to share is to be able to articulate your personal brand, or you may hear it as your elevator speech in just a few sentences. Personal brand or elevator speech is just so important because it gives you the opportunity to tell the characteristics that are important about you and your experience in a very short amount of time. So within your personal brand, we would recommend including your passion into your personal brand. So what energizes you? Your superpowers. What are things that you do better than anyone else in those particular roles? Your values. Your values are important in operating principles. What is the purpose? What are your hopes and your dream? What is your dream job? Can you share that with the hiring manager? Can you and you can align that with your career goals. And what is different? What stands out? What most strongly sets you apart from others? So those are some ideas you can think about as you are creating your personal brand. It is just a few short sentences, but it is important to be able to communicate that to a hiring manager or anyone that you are in contact with at that company when you are having that interview. If we're in person, maybe you're meeting the security guard, you happen to talk to them while you're waiting, or you're talking to someone in the waiting room and you're talking to an administrator that is going to take you to the interview. Be able to articulate that personal brand or the elevator speech that you have prepared for yourself, and you just never know how far that speech can go. Besides, if you're telling more than one person besides just the hiring managers. Ready? And also knowing yourself and knowing the position. So once you get an interview, make sure you take the time to review the job that you apply for. At FedEx Services, our jobs include a pretty good description of what you will be doing. And then we also have a section where it's called Skills Consider a Plus. So as you're interviewing and preparing for your interview, we will recommend jotting down those notes and thinking about how your skills is aligned with those skills consider a plus. I feel like the more preparation that you have and the more you know the job, once you're into the interview, you'll feel so much more confident and you'll be able to speak more about your experience and how it aligns to your position, to the position. Another tip is use your resources. Use the network that you have. Do you know anyone that currently work at that particular company? Are they able to share any insights into possibly new projects that are going on that they can share with you? Reach out to your mentors. Do your mentor know someone that works at those particular company that can share more information with you? And Camille touched on social media and the research earlier. Social media, there's just a ton of information on their LinkedIn page. It's a ton of information probably on their website about what the company is doing and what initiative the company may have going on at that time. So knowing all of that information will definitely prepare you for the day you're interviewing for that particular position to start those conversations. Okay, so talking about behavior style interview, while you're prepping and preparing, think about those stories. Rehearse some stories. Talk out loud. Sometimes it is challenging the day you come into the interview. It maybe is nerve-wracking. You want to do a great job, but if you're able to prepare beforehand and think about maybe 7 to 10 stories about your past experience and how it aligns with the particular position, I feel like that will help you and just give you more confidence while you're interviewing. Think about some accomplishments that you have had in the past, or some goals that you met, or even challenges that you came into while you're working. And if you can, use those challenges to think about what ended up happening with those challenges or how you overcome those challenges. Jot all of those notes down in your notes so that when you are at the interview and they're asking you these questions, you're able to think about those stories that you prepare for. Going back to knowing the particular position, if you understand the skills and knowledge considered a plus for this particular position, then you're able to answer the questions and provide a response that is aligned with those skills that are considered a plus. So within an interview process, there's a series of questions that are asked. And it could be it could be 5, 6, 7, maybe 10 questions sometimes. So that's a lot of stories. So just make sure when you're telling your stories, you're not telling the same story over and over again. I know sometimes it's hard where the hiring manager asks you a question and you want to give a story that you're familiar with. But if all possible, try to articulate a different story with a different scenario, with a different results that you can answer the question with, and try not to use the same example. Okay, so that was a lot of information. I'll pause here to see if anyone have a question about preparing for the behavior style interview. I'm looking at the chat. I have one question that as for the resume, I have read that sometimes a professional summary is not needed. What are your thoughts? So we can touch on this particular position or this question. So I would like my teams to chime in as well, but I can give my thoughts on a professional summary. For me, I would not say that it is not needed, but I feel like a professional summary gives the recruiter a chance to just have a reader summary and get a good understanding of your experience and possibly what you're looking for in your next career move. So though I do not say that it's needed, it's not required, but I feel like it put the finish touch on your resume, where a recruiter like Camille and Tessa and we can read a professional summary and get to know you a little bit better. And then we'll be able to dive into your resume. What are you guys' thoughts, Camille and Tessa?
I agree with you, Mary. This it's a little extra personal touch that helps us, I guess you can say, weed out the best candidates. Just taking a little extra time to go that extra mile and selling yourself at the beginning. So I agree with you, Mary.
Yeah, and a cover letter is, you know, some managers will read those. I have quite a few who read those. And just keep it short and simple. It doesn't have to be a full page long history of everything that you've done and the, you know, the extracurricular activities you have and things like that, a family history. It doesn't have to be anything like that. It just one quick paragraph of the skills that you have that would fit that job and how you plan to apply those skills to that position, or you know, just kind of again letting them know that this is, yeah, I have these skills and that's why I'm applying for this job. So yeah, just one quick paragraph. It doesn't have to be a long drawn out full page of information.
And I agree. And Tessa, to your point, I have had managers that have had candidates, the cover letter would be 3-4 pages, but the actual resume is 1 page. So never go too far with the cover letter. As to Tessa's point, keep it short and sweet, say yourself in the cover letter, but it should not consume the actual entire resume packet that you're presenting.
Good points.
All right. Well, if there are other questions, just feel free to put them up in the chat at any time, and Camille or Mary will answer those questions for you while I'm speaking. I'm going to talk about the behavioral interview and the STAR method. This is what method is used at FedEx in any of the opcos when you're applying for a position. You will usually have a panel of 2 to 3 managers in the interview room, and they'll all be sitting on one side and they'll have their pen and paper out and they'll be writing. So don't think that they're not interested in what you're saying. They're fully interested and invested in you, and they're being there now like they're supposed to be. It's just they cannot remember your response to every single question that they've asked. So they're writing it down. That being said, if you have to take a you know, few seconds to get everything put together in your head when they've asked a question, you can say that. There's nothing that's going to be counted against you or held against you if you say, okay, you know, that's an interesting question. Could you give me just a second to think about it? They'll be happy, honestly, to give you that second because they're writing. So they're still trying to catch up with your previous answer. So don't be afraid to do that. You can also take a notepad with answers in it into the room with you. So you can write answers down to the questions that you've thought of previously or that you Googled, like Mary said. So you can take those answers in there, or just a quick list, something that will help jar your memory if they ask you a question. So feel free to do that. You won't be able to take it back out of the room, but you will be able to take that in there to help you. You can also jot down questions as they ask them. But again, make sure that you don't take that out of the room. They'll ask you for it. This is if you have a face-to-face interview. Obviously now, because of COVID, we're not doing that. But so just some quick tips just to let you know. Okay, so the STAR method, it's situation and task, action, or results, and results. So during the situation, remember, this is your story that you're telling. Okay, it's nobody else's story. You were there, so you know the situation. So hopefully that will kind of help allay any fears or anxiety that you might have going in here. Just remember that any answer that you give, it's your story. You were there, so no need to be nervous about it. Just tell the story like you'd tell it to friends. But so what you're going to do with the situation and task, you're going to describe the situation that you were in and the challenges that you faced. You'll state the tasks that you accomplished, and you'll draw from your current job or previous jobs or other relevant life events when you're giving these answers to the questions. So just keep that in mind. Also, for the action, you'll want to describe the action that you took. This is how I resolved this situation. This is what I did in order to help the customer. So you're going to keep the focus on you, even if you're discussing a group project or effort. And I believe that's something that Camille touched on earlier. You'll also, for the results, you'll just describe how the event ended. Was the customer happy? Did the customer appreciate your effort? Did the customer get the ending that he or she was looking for? And it doesn't always have to be a happy ending. You can say, you know, this didn't work out well, but I learned this from what happened. And you can tell how maybe you would do it differently in the future. Just a quick one minute blurb of, hey, you know, this one didn't end well, but this is what I did. This is what I thought about doing the next time this situation occurs. So tell what you accomplished. What did you learn and how did you apply the learning? So what did you accomplish? You can say, yes, the customer was happy. We found the package. We realized that the tag came off of the package. So we informed the customer about how to better tape on these, the labels. And you can go from there. All right, next slide, please. So during the interview, listen carefully. They may ask some lengthy questions. So just try to pick out the main words of what they're asking in the question. And just listen to it very carefully so that you don't answer the wrong type question or answer the question incorrectly. Choose appropriate examples. Again, you can bring them in a pad with paper with examples written down on it, so that way you can have those readily available in case you need to glance down. And again, don't be afraid to ask for just a second to formulate your thoughts. If you're unsure of a question, ask for clarification. There's no problem with that. They understand that you're in a tense situation and you might be a little anxious, and there might be other things going on around the room that just kind of draw your attention. So it's okay. Make sure to ask if you need clarification. Avoid using the same example for multiple questions, and I believe Mary hit on that a few minutes ago. So just make sure that you have, I believe we suggested 5 to 10 skills written down or answers written down so before you go in there. Stay focused on the position's skills and experience. So don't talk about all of the other skills that you have. That's great, and they want to know that, and they'll be able to see that later on if you're hired. But what they want to know is how your skills pertain to the position that you're applying for. Okay. Next slide, please. Thank you, ma'am. So keep your stories 4 to 5 minutes in length. The interview is usually going to last around 60 minutes at the longest. You don't need to ramble on, and you don't, if your answer is short and sweet and simple, and you give them the exact information that you need, and you do that within 2 to 3 minutes, that's fine. You don't have to go and You know, it's not like a college paper where you have to draw it out and draw it out. Just give them quick answers with the STAR method, and keep it 4 to 5 minutes is a good range. Again, limit rambling and repeating, which is what I just did. So don't do that in your interviews. You can't control what is asked, but you can control what you say. So just remember, again, I want to emphasize it's your story. You were there, so you know what happened. Adhere to the presentation time limit, if applicable. So if they say, hey, we have 30 minutes, well, then you know that you need to give your answers in 2 to 3 minutes. But again, it should be 60 minutes. So there you go. I believe we have one more slide that where we have just how to finish your interview. I have 1 or 2 questions prepared to ask the hiring manager after you interview. You can ask them about the position and how you could make the position better. How could you do it better than your what's the word I'm looking for? I'm sorry, your predecessor. And not to say that your predecessor did a bad job, but just to say, is there something that I can expand on? Is there something that I could do to assist with this position and move it forward, help us move forward? Or something like that. That's just kind of an example. But yeah, I have 1 to 2 questions available, and that question should not be how much does this pay? Just make sure that you don't ask that question. They know you're interested in the pay, but they also need to hear other questions that pertain to the position. Ask for the job. Just put it out there that you know you're excited, you're ready, you are enjoying interviewing, and you're excited about the position, and you really look forward to being a part of the team. Just make sure that they understand you really are interested in the position. And then, of course, follow up with a thank you note. Your mom always told you to say thank you when you received gifts, and to send that note. It can be in the form of an email now, I'm sure, instead of snail mail like we call it. But follow up with a thank you note to the hiring manager and the panel with the reasons why you're a good fit for the position. Just let them know why you feel that you are going to be the best person to fill that seat. And they'll appreciate that. It goes a long way. All right. Next slide, please. All right. And then on this one, this is some extra tips that Camille wrote up for us. You can sign up for the FedEx Services Talent Communities. And what this helps with is that anytime we have a position come open and we need a person with specific skills, that person can go into, well, the recruiters or talent acquisition specialists, we can go into that talent community and we can find candidates who have previously applied for positions that have those special skill sets. So it's really important to be able to sign up for those talent communities when you have that opportunity. You can also just kind of to get a better example of what it would feel like to work for FedEx and what we feel like when we come to work every day. You can take a personal glance at the life of FedEx at that URL right there. And again, if we haven't said it yet, which I don't think we have, we appreciate you, Willie. Thank you so much for having us today. This has been an incredible event, and we love to get our story out there and answer any questions that we can. So thank you so much. And you can refer any questions that you would like to ask us to Willie at wclark@memphis.edu, and he'll compile those and forward them to us. Thank you again, Willie, for having us. We really appreciate it.
And also, Tessa, I want to add, for those regarding the signing up for the FedEx talent communities, we also highlight positions that we're currently recruiting for on those communications. So it's a good thing to do if you sign up for those communications. We send those out weekly right now, but we're going to go to bi-weekly. But again, we highlight crucial jobs that we're recruiting for. So you may find something that you qualify for. And we have given a lot of information. So now I'm going to take time to let it all sink in and see if anyone has any specific questions they want to ask us in chat, or just come out and talk to us. Just speak to us through the Zoom.
Like Camille said earlier, be yourself.
Yeah, there's no ridiculous question. Trust me, there's really not. And we mean that when we say that. So feel free to ask any questions.
Yes, feel free.
As far as when is a good time to hear about the pay, it's a good question. I guess when you when you get your offer letter. No, I think one thing that you can do is go out to, oh, I just had the name of it in my head and it left. What is the website you go to and you can look up Glassdoor?
Oh.
Yeah, and you can just kind of look up what the positions would normally provide pay-wise, and kind of know that we're going to be in line with that, because we study every year the salaries. I'm sorry, I'm stumbling over my words here, y'all. But we study this, our comp department studies the market rate range, as Camille just said. And so we should be in line with that. And then once you get your offer letter, that's when you can negotiate at that point.
Agreed. And to Tessa's point, she's exactly right. Wait till that offer letter comes to discuss the salary. Most managers frown upon you asking them about the salary actually in the interview process. It's not a good look. So I would suggest, to Tessa's point, wait till that offer comes out, and you want to negotiate, you have every right to do so. Let's see, did we miss any questions in the chat?
Yeah, and I believe Mary touched on this, or no, Camille, you touched on this. How should a person go about applying for a position that they may have little to no experience, but they believe they can do the job? Yeah, again, they're going to go by skills. Do you have that skill set? Have you performed that skill set? They really, that's what they're looking for.
Because we all can say we can do the job, but you still have to sell yourself to get into that role, and it has to come through on your resume some way. Your education, your certification, job experience, something has to come through on your resume besides I can do the job. You have to sell yourself.
Yeah, they need to know why you think you can do that job. Because you may read the skills that are necessary for that position and you can go, oh, I can do that. But what you don't understand is it's beyond just that word. There's a lot going into that skill. There's a lot going into that position other than just that quick word. You know, if it says you need a high school degree and Excel, well, yeah, I have a high school degree and I definitely know Excel, but they need to know how well you know Excel. So they're going to delve further into that skill. Really.
Sorry, Tessa. I was going to say, a good question came through the chat box. What was your interview experience like?
Wow. Wants to take that one. That was, I am not a good test taker. Yeah, I'm not a good test taker. So I get nervous during these interviews, but being a talent acquisition specialist, it has really helped me out a lot to understand that these managers in front of you, they're people, okay, just like you are, and they've been through these interview sessions before too, so they know that there's anxiety. But it's really a comfortable situation. I've never been in an interview at FedEx where I didn't feel comfortable. The managers really just kind of make you feel like you belong there, and they just ask the questions, and if they need you to expound a little bit further on an answer, they'll give you a guided question to just kind of help you move into that. But yeah, it's you just go into usually a conference room, except for now it's virtual. So you usually just go and sit in a conference room, and there are two or three managers who are in there with you, and they will take turns asking questions. And it's usually about 7 to 10 questions that they'll ask you.
Mhm. And we have a question: can experience sometimes supersede certification and a degree, and how can I show that in an interview? That's a good question. So there are positions that may specifically ask for a degree in, I'll say, engineering, but it'll also say, I'm just going off the top of my head, maybe 5 years of work experience may supersede the degree. So there are several jobs where you can bypass the degree portion of the position by having a recommended amount of experience for years in experience for that position. So it just depends. Every position is not as cut and dry. Every position has to be looked at on a case-by-case situation. So there are some jobs where your experience and your degree can supersede a master's degree. It's just every position is different. So you just have to carefully read those minimum qualifications.
It will usually say in the description, it will say BA in basket weaving / equivalent.
Yes.
And if you see where it says equivalent, that means if you don't have the degree, do you have the number of years of experience to make up for that degree? And then if you have the number of years of experience to make up for that degree, if it also says that you need 2 years of experience, that means you're going to have enough, you're going to have enough to cover both. You're going to have enough experience to cover the degree and the years of experience.
Correct. Because if the position asks for, to Tessa's point, asks for a specific amount of years experience, or they ask for a specific degree, we have to go strictly about what those minimum qualifications are asking for. So if you don't present that information on your resume, then you will not be moved to the next step.
So that's another thing too. When you are reading the descriptions of the positions that have been posted, make sure that you have those words in your resume. So if you do have the skill that is being asked for in the requisition, make sure that you put that in your skill set. So if you have a different skill section, make sure it's in there. And then whatever job you obtain that skill on, make sure you're able to kind of do a quick bullet point of what you did with that skill. How did you utilize that skill? Because sometimes we get 400 and 500 people applying for the same position. So it makes it very difficult for us to review all 400 or 500 of those resumes, obviously. So we'll put in a keyword and kind of help pull out the top candidates.
Any other questions,
We
comments?
have just a few more minutes.
Yes. Or any feedback? Yes. I don't think we missed any questions. I'm going back through. Is there any questions that we've answered that we haven't been clear on, that you want any more clarification? Now is the time.
It has been a thrill, I want to say that much, to be able to speak to other alums from U of M.
Mhm.
We're big Tiger supporters in our family. My husband and I graduated from there, and then one of my daughters is going there now, and another daughter should be starting soon. And then one more year after that, we have another one. So we're keeping it in the family. Big Tiger supporters.
Christy said, "Go Tigers."
Yeah, there we
Mhm.
go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And on the same Tessa, my husband and I both graduated from U of M. So,
There you go. Yeah. Keeping it in the family.
Keep
It's
it
always
in.
a thrill to be able to come back around and share knowledge.
Yes.
So my husband did not graduate from the University of Memphis, but my two sisters and I graduated from the University of Memphis.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Good deal.
He's on the rival team. But yes, thank you everyone for joining. And if you have additional questions you think of later on throughout the day, or whenever you have some follow-up questions, feel free to send those questions to Willie, and he'll compile those questions and send them to us. Thank you all so much for your time and joining this session with us.
Yes. Thank you all. Thank you, Willie.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.